Tyler Perry lost every dollar he saved in a single weekend. He was homeless. He tried again 6 more times and failed every time. Today, he is a billionaire. This is how he did it. Atlanta, 1992. A 22-year-old from New Orleans walked into a theater on 14th Street with every dollar he had saved. He was the writer, the producer, the promoter, the star. He was the ticket taker and the lighting director, and the man sweeping the lobby at the end of the night. He had worked as a used car salesman. He had worked as a bill collector. He had saved $12,000 doing it, and he had bet all of it on one weekend of one play. He expected 1,200 people over the weekend, but only 30 people showed up. When the lights came down on the last show, Tyler Perry was broke. Not poor. Broke. His savings were gone. The job he had quit to put the show up was gone. The apartment he had been renting was about to be gone. In the weeks that followed, he ended up sleeping in his car. A 6'5" man folded into a Geo Metro. And that was how his empire began. 30 years later, that same man would stand on 330 acres of land in Atlanta and own the only major film studio in America owned by one person. He would be a billionaire. His library would include more than 1,200 television episodes and more than 20 feature films, and he would own 100% of every single one of them. He would capture cash flow that every major studio in Hollywood thought did not exist. But he was not there yet. In 1992, he was a man in a Geo Metro with a script nobody wanted and a theory nobody believed. What you are about to see is not luck. It is not talent. It is a blueprint. Tyler Perry used every single one of Palmer's principles. He just did not have a name for them at the time. But you do. Emmitt Perry Jr. was born on September 13, 1969, in New Orleans, Louisiana. There was abuse in the home. His father was physically violent. At the age of 10, Tyler tried to take his own life. He dropped out of high school before graduating. He would later pass the GED, but he would never earn a traditional diploma. At 16, he did something that tells you everything about who he already was. He legally changed his first name. Emmitt was the name his father had given him. Tyler was the name he chose for himself. The moment he was old enough to make the decision, he cut the tie that connected him to the man who had hurt him. That is who he was at 16. He worked as a used car salesman, as a bill collector, and in hotels. He did the kind of work that keeps you alive but does not build you a future. And then one afternoon, he saw a television show that changed his life. Oprah Winfrey was on the screen talking about writing as therapy. She said that if you had been through something difficult, you could write it down, and writing it down could help you heal. Tyler Perry had been through something difficult. He started writing. Letters that turned into scenes. Scenes that turned into a play called I Know I've Been Changed. It was about survivors of childhood abuse, learning to forgive, to heal, and to build something new. He did not know it yet, but he had just written the first draft of the foundation of a billion-dollar empire. By 1992, he had $12,000 saved up, and he made a decision. He was going to leave New Orleans and move to Atlanta. He was going to bet everything on one play. He had no investors, no network, no mentor. He had $12,000, a script, and a belief. That was all. The 14th Street Playhouse in Atlanta is a real theater. It seats around 200 people. Tyler Perry rented it. He hired a cast, printed flyers, and ran radio ads. He did everything a professional producer would do with no professional experience. He expected 1,200 people over the opening weekend. 30 people showed up. Not 30 per night. 30. Total. For the whole weekend. When the weekend was over, he had nothing. The $12,000 was gone. The job was gone. The apartment was about to be gone. The play he had believed in was a documented failure. Most people would have quit. Tyler Perry did not quit. But he also did not do the right thing. What he did next was make the exact same mistake again. He got another job. He saved more money, and he put the same play up again the next year. It failed. He got another job, saved more money, put it up again. It failed. Again and again. 6 times. Over 6 years. Same play. Same result. Every time it left him with less than he started with. Sleeping in his car. Sleeping on friends' couches. Eating when he could. He was violating Palmer's principle number 2, and he did not know it. Undertaking. Build the habits and tools that make a business run. That includes the discipline of testing before you scale. You prove the product works in a small room before you bet your housing on a big one. But here is what he was doing that eventually made the difference. He was learning. After every show, he would sit down with the handful of people who had come and ask them what worked and what did not. Between every production, he would rewrite the script using what the audience had told him. By 1998, the script he was holding in his hands was not the script he had started with in 1992. It had been rewritten 7 times. It had been tested on real audiences, and this time, when he put the show up, something was different. Before we get to 1998, you need to understand the obstacle that was bigger than Tyler Perry himself. Hollywood. In the mid-1990s, the American entertainment industry had a clear picture of who the audience was and what the audience wanted. The audience was assumed to be white and suburban. The black Southern church-going audience was considered too small to justify a production budget. The distribution networks that made every other entertainment career possible were closed to people telling stories about that audience. The major theaters would not book him. The film studios would not meet with him. The agents would not return his calls. Most entrepreneurs hit that kind of wall and call it a problem. Tyler Perry looked at it and called it an opportunity. If the major theaters would not book him, he would book himself. He started taking "I Know I've Been Changed" on the road. Not to theaters, but to black churches across the South. He would call pastors. He would offer to bring his play to their congregation. He would split the door with the church. He would sleep in the pastor's guest room or in his car in the church parking lot. He was beginning to capture cash flow that no studio in America thought was there to capture. This is Palmer's principle number 5. Networks. When the infrastructure other people built does not include you, you build your own. Tyler Perry built his own distribution network, one black church at a time when Hollywood would not open its doors. And then there was the home problem. Between 1992 and 1998, Tyler Perry was homeless on multiple occasions. His mother begged him to come home, and his friends told him to give up. The people in his life who loved him the most were telling him to stop. He did not stop. Tyler Perry has said it this way: he did not fail 6 times. He learned 6 times. And the difference between those 2 statements is the difference between the people who build empires and the people who stop trying. Subscribe for more videos that break down how to make, manage, and multiply more money. In 1998, Tyler Perry put the play on for the 7th time. House of Blues, Atlanta. The script had been rewritten 7 times. The audience had been built one church at a time, and the word of mouth that Hollywood had thought wasn't possible had been working in the background for 6 years. Opening night sold out. The next night, sold out. 8 nights in a row, sold out. The play moved from the House of Blues to the Fox Theater. The Fox seats roughly 4,600 people, and Tyler Perry filled it. That was the turn. Everything that came after was built on the foundation he had laid during the 6 years nobody was watching. In 2005, he released his first feature film, Diary of a Mad Black Woman. The critics hated it. Roger Ebert called it one of the most poorly made movies he had ever reviewed. Opening weekend, the movie made $21 million, and it was the #1 film in America. The audience had shown up. Over the next 15 years, he built an empire. Medea's Family Reunion Meet the Browns, House of Pain, The Haves, and the Have-Nots. Film after film, show after show. Every one of them generating real cash flow for a man who 10 years earlier had been sleeping in his car. But here is where Tyler Perry did something almost nobody else in Hollywood was doing. He refused to sign away his ownership. Every contract he signed, he kept the rights to the work. The industry standard in Hollywood is that the studio owns the work, and the talent gets paid. Tyler Perry would own the work, or the work would not happen. That discipline is Palmer's principle number 7. Set up. Establish the legal structure that protects what you build. He had 6 years of being the man the system was designed to exploit, and when he finally had leverage, he used it to make sure no one could ever exploit him again. In 2015, he did something no black filmmaker had ever done in American history. He bought a decommissioned Confederate Army base in southwest Atlanta. Fort McPherson, 330 acres for $30 million. The land had been used during the Civil War to train soldiers whose purpose was to keep black Americans enslaved. 150 years later, the man who bought that land outright was a black man who had once been homeless. When the studio officially opened in 2019, major productions began filming there. Black Panther, The Walking Dead, and Coming to America. All of them renting space on a lot owned by one man. By 2020, Forbes named him a billionaire. Net worth, $1.4 billion. He had captured cash flow that every major studio in Hollywood had thought did not exist. There will never be another Tyler Perry, but you can achieve a similar level of success if you understand how he did it and you put in the work. The same principles that built the only black-owned major film studio in America are available to you right now. The blueprint is at capturecashflow.com. Every letter of the acronym BUSINESS maps directly to actions Tyler Perry took on his way from homeless to billionaire. B. Belief, because Tyler Perry believed in an audience nobody else believed in. He showed up for that audience one night at a time for 6 years before anyone outside a few black churches in the South knew his name. By the time Hollywood realized there was money in the audience he had been serving, Tyler Perry already owned the relationship. Undertaking, because Tyler Perry built the habit of working, writing, and saving through 7 years of failure. He developed the discipline that made version 7 of his play different from version 1. By 1998, he was executing a product he had tested so many times that success was almost inevitable. His undertaking gave him compounded experience that no competitor could catch up to. Service. Because Tyler Perry served an audience Hollywood refused to serve, he captured cash flow from tens of millions of people who had never seen themselves represented on screen in a way that respected them. His audience was not looking for Hollywood. They were looking for someone who understood them. Tyler Perry understood them. And for 2 decades, they showed up for every single piece of work he released. Individuals. Because Tyler Perry built his early audience one person at a time, he built a base of loyalty that no marketing budget could manufacture. Pastors who let him sleep in their churches became partners who promoted his plays. Audience members who came to his shows told 5 more people. Every individual relationship he built became a brick in a wall that competitors could not scale. Networks. Because Tyler Perry built his own distribution when Hollywood would not give him one, he ended up owning every layer of the business by the time it mattered. The black church touring circuit became the proof of concept for the film distribution model he would use later. His studio rental business generates over $100 million a year from other productions. Every network he built out of necessity became a moat that protected everything. Evaluation. Because Tyler Perry treated every failure as tuition instead of a verdict, he converted 6 years of losses into the foundation for a billion-dollar empire. The 7th version of I Know I've Been Changed was substantially different from the first. It was not that he got lucky in 1998. It was that by 1998, the product was finally a product the market wanted. Evaluation did not make him lucky. It made him unavoidable. Setup, because Tyler Perry structured every deal to retain ownership. His 2015 purchase of the 330-acre Fort McPherson base was possible at all. He had the capital because he had kept the rights to his work. When he wrote the check for $30 million to buy the land, he did not need an investor, a partner, or a lender. Setup is boring until it is the reason you own your own studio. Shout, because Tyler Perry let the work shout first. He built a word-of-mouth audience that no marketing budget could have bought. Every black church that hosted his play, every congregation that left singing the songs from his show, they were the marketing. When Hollywood finally noticed him in 2005, he already had an audience of millions of people who had been waiting 20 years for the industry to catch up. Tyler Perry started with $12,000 and slept in a Geo Metro after he lost all of it. He used all 8 principles, but he did not call them Palmer's principles. He called them survival. He called them not quitting. He called them the thing you do when you do not have anything else to do. But Tyler Perry is not the story. You are the story. Because right now, there is an audience that somebody is ignoring. There is a community that the big players have written off as too small, too far from the center of things, too hard to reach. There is a story that nobody is telling the way it needs to be told. And if you can show up for that audience the way Tyler Perry showed up for his, if you can learn what they need and build it for them, that is your competitive advantage. Tyler Perry followed the blueprint and turned 6 failed attempts into a $1.4 billion empire. Can you follow the blueprint?